On this video, I am going to continue what we've been doing in the book of Job, and we are now in chapter 33. This is Elihu's first speech. I have been working through Job, looking at the grammar along with commentary, and so we're now in Elihu's first speech. He's been quiet, but now he's going to speak. And the text reads, verse 1, Ulam shema na Iyog milah, v'chol devarai ha'azina. Howbeit, Job, listen or hearken and hear my speech. In other words, he wants Job to hear his speech. Shema is just your cal imperative masculine singular. V'chol devari or devarai ha'azina. And all of my words hear or give attention to. This is a hiphil imperative masculine singular from azan. So give attention to all of my words. As we begin, Elihu requests Job's attention to his speech. He objects to Job's challenging God with his innocency as he sets forth God's mysterious ways in speaking to man. In this first speech of Elihu's, he tries to explain God's manner of communicating with human beings or with men. So verse 2 reads, Hinena patachti fi, dibra lashoni vechiki. Behold, now I have opened my mouth, and my tongue has spoken, or my tongue in the roof of my mouth has spoken. Patachti is from the root patach, to open. It's the cal perfect first common singular from patach. Behold, now I have opened my mouth, and my tongue has spoken. Divra is a PL form here, a PL, a perfect third feminine singular from davar. So my tongue has spoken, bechiki. Bechiki means in my palate of my mouth. So Elihu does not speak until he has thought over his words, making sure they are the right ones. And he's now going to utter them. And verse 3, he continues, Yosher libi amarai. That is, my words shall utter the uprightness of my heart, or the uprightness of my heart. My words shall be V'da'at sefatai barur milelu. And the knowledge of my lips with sincerity they shall speak, or they speak. Notice here, barur is a cal passive participle from barar, to be in sincerity, and milelu is a PL perfect third common plural from the word malal, to speak. So that which my lips know, they shall speak by sincerity, or with sincerity. And so he will speak, he is saying, according to his inward convictions. He will not distort the truth as Job's friends did in their passion speech, but he will speak with sincerity. Excuse me, please. So then we move on to the next verse, verse 4. Ruach el asata v'nishmat shaddai techayeni. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty has given life to me. Here we have asatani is from asa, to make. So the Spirit of God has made me. Here we have a cow perfect third feminine singular from asa, followed by the pronominal suffix first common singular in the e here, or the ni. And the breath of the Almighty has given life to me. Techayeni, from chaya, to give life. And here we have a PL, imperfect. The breath of the Almighty, it has given life to me. Third feminine singular from chaya, with the pronominal suffix first common singular in the ni. And so looking at this verse, what he's saying, comparing this with chapter 32:8, indicates that the breath of God has inspired him. Since both Elihu and Job have been created by the Spirit of God, Job does not need to be afraid of Elihu. He becomes the mediator for whom Job had wished. And we get this back in chapter 9, verses 32 to 33. And so the text continues in verse 5. Im tuchal hashiveni ercha lefanai hit yatsava. That is, if you are able, answer me. Set before me your words. In other words, set your words in order, literally, or order your words before me and stand forth. Tuchal, if you are able, is from Yahal. It's the cow imperfect second masculine singular from Yahal. If you are able, then answer me, or return an answer to me. A Hifil imperative masculine singular here, followed by the pronominal suffix in the ni, or the e here. So answer me and order before me. Order your words. Erha, another imperative, cow imperative. Order your words before me and stand forth. Hit yatsava is a hit pael imperative masculine singular from yatsav. So what he's saying here in verse 5 is Elihu invites Job then to answer his words. and give response to what he is about to say. And then he continues, verse 6. Hein, ani cheficha le'el, mechomer kuratzti gam ani. Behold, I am as you toward God, even as you, I am toward God. From the clay, mehomer, I have been formed. Indeed, I. Kuratzta, from karatz, meaning to form. We have here, I have been formed, a hofal, perfect, first common singular from karatz. So I have been formed from God, just like you. And so what he's saying here, Elihu admits that he is human and made of clay, just like Job. And we need to compare this with chapter 31, verse 35, 13, verse 3, and also verses 20 and 21. And so the text continues in verse 7. Hene imati lo teva atecha ve'achpi alecha lo yikbad. Behold, or lo, my terror shall not terrify you, or shall not make you afraid. And my pressure upon you shall not be heavy. Here we have, my terror shall not terrify you or make you afraid. From ba'at, it is a PL, imperfect, third feminine singular from ba'at, followed by the pronominal suffix, second masculine singular in the ha. So my terror shall not make you afraid, and my pressure shall not be heavy upon you. Yikbad is simply the cow imperfect third masculine singular from kavad, to be heavy. And so as we look at verse 7, he is assuring Job that he will not be unduly harsh like his previous antagonists were. So he wants Job to simply listen and realize he's not going to be harsh like they had become. So we continue then in verse 8. Ach amarta ve'ozni v'kol milin eshma. Indeed, or surely, you have spoken in my ear, or in my hearing, and I have heard the voice of your words, or I heard the voice of your words. Amarta is the cow perfect second masculine singular from amar. You have spoken in my ears, or my hearing, and I have heard the voice of your words. Kol milin, two nouns in construct, followed by eshma, the cow imperfect first common singular from shama. In other words, he is saying, I am mindful of what has been spoken. I've heard the words. But then he continues in verse 9. Zak ani, believe fasha, chaf anochi velo avonli. I am clean, and I am without transgression. I am innocent, and there is not iniquity in me. So he wants Job to know that he is clean without any transgression. Uh, in verse 9 here, the word chaf means clean, and I am clean, and there is no iniquity in me, it only occurs here, by the way, which is interesting. Nowhere else does that word chaf occur. So it's a only occurs once, which is interesting. Uh, and so what we're seeing here in verse 9, Elihu says he has heard Job's claim to innocency. And he wants Job to know that he's heard him, but he's clean himself. And so he wants to respond to what Job has said. And so we continue then in verse 10. Chen, tenuot alai yemsa, yaksheveni le'oyev li. Behold, he finds occasions against me. He counts me as his enemy. So he finds occasions against me. The Hebrew word here is also found in the Torah in Numbers 14:34, meaning displeasures. In other words, it could be Job had made the charge against God and is talking about God's occasions against him, something like that. So he finds occasion against me, you've said, Job, and he counts me for his enemy, that is God. From Hashav, he counts me as his enemy, or he causes me to be counted as his enemy. And here we have a Hifil imperfect third masculine singular from Hashav, followed by the pronominal suffix first common, or first person singular. And so in verse 10, Elihu has further then heard Job express his thought that God was counting him as his enemy. And he's quoting that. He's referring back to that, could we say. We see this, for example, in chapter 13:24, in 16:9, 19:11, and chapter 30, verse 21. And so in verse 11, he continues, Yashem basad raglai yishmor kol horchotai. He puts my feet in the stocks, and he keeps all of my path, or he marks my way. Yasem is the Hifil imperfect third masculine singular from seam. So he causes to put in stocks my feet, and he keeps all of my ways, or chotai. Yishma is the cow imperfect third masculine singular from shamar. And so in verse 11, what the text seems to be saying is that God has heard Job express the thought that he is scrutinizing Job to see if he slips. There's a reference back here previously to chapter 13:27. So Job has accused God of putting his feet in stocks, is really what Elihu is saying. So at this point, God now is going to speak, or Elihu is going to speak for God, how that God will have many ways in which he speaks to man. So we have seen how Elihu is going back to Job's claim of innocence, addressing him, and I'm going to stop there, but he's now going to move on to talk about how God speaks in various ways, in many ways, to mankind. And so we'll stop here and pick it up at verse 12, because from 12 following, he's going to talk about the different ways that God speaks to mankind, to humankind. So let me stop there, and we'll continue on when we do our next video on this section.